Right. Fine. So, my question will be asking to every one of you, what is the real reason why you people wanted to attend this particular session? What made you? What brought you here for us together as part of this program? What do you really expect out of this?
So basically, as a teacher who deals with young minds, and I understand that students that have drastically gone into a different phase of life during this pandemic. And when I'm to meet them again after the second wave, it's quite different, I believe, because after the first wave, when we met them, and many of them, they infected, had difficulties, but the second wave in Tamil Nadu has given us a greater bolt. In sense, every home has gone through some kind of grief, maybe in their house or in the relative, from the relative side or from friends side. The total lifestyle has changed, and everywhere there is a grief, maybe due to the pandemic alone, or in sense due to the illness or breakage in their life governing things. So everywhere, our students as well as the faculty, everyone has gone through some kind of grief. So when we meet them, I want to be equipped more further to help them, or to be have an empathy with them. So I want to equip myself. That's why I joined here.
Ha, Karen, it's very happy to hear these words out of you because you as a person not belonging to mainstream person in the field of social work and social work background has spoken this terminologies of empathy. It's very interesting to hear out of you. And I, as a person, um maybe has really experienced fatigue in empathy, which I will be explaining you in the coming slides when I present to you. Um, Even empathy can be a fatigue. Yeah, we'll come across to that one. I wish to hear from other people as well.
So this is Naomi again. When I was interacting with one of my students, she said, "Ma'am, I'm into anxiety and depression, and I'm feeling very bad, ma'am. This pandemic, not just because of COVID, but this being inside home all the time, and all the time hearing about news of death and things like that." So, as ma'am said, it would be very helpful for us when we go back and interact with our students, how to handle their issues, how we have to deal with them. So I think this workshop would be very helpful when I hear from the rest of you, all of the participants, as well as from you, from your experience. Thank you.
Sir, sir, please unmute.
I think the second wave has created huge issues in everywhere, even in Kerala. First wave, initially we had difficulties in addressing in the first line COVID centers. We had only issues of addressing their day-to-day issues such as just they were in a comfort zone of home and they were immediately shifted. They were finding it's difficult to adjust with the food, environmental changes, etc., etc. While the second wave really hit us in such a way that every day we had to see at least 4 to 5 dead bodies moving out of the COVID centers every day, almost the place where I was working. So I can understand this. Amidst of all this, we smile. We had to smile. We had to show our face to the people whom we meet with a lot of pleasantness. It's like a masking out. Real emotions of ourselves had to mask it out. Though in the initial phases of COVID infection, though we didn't we used every equipments which were useful for protecting ourselves. Second wave we were not even fearful about it. We were just casually entering into the ICUs and other things. Maybe that was again a kind of direness. Don't exactly. Even I cannot say exactly what would have been happening if I were infected. In the second phase, condition would have been much more critical, because in second wave we have seen most critical cases than the first phase, and it's prolonged, and we're not sure when it's going to end up, right? So pandemic, it might end up in next year, it might be exceeding for next 1 or 2 years. Yeah, it might come back again after maybe after a few years. So people need to be resilient enough to understand what is exactly happening, and also to equip oneself with the changing scenarios of life. So this is where exactly these kind of workshops are helpful. Can anybody else more wanted to respond? If not otherwise, I will directly go into uh, my brief presentation. Just a second. Can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Fine. So through this presentation, I really mean to see how exactly and what are the major issues that we are facing while handling the grief. And moreover, through these presentations, I also try to handle two ways. One, we need to have some sort of understanding about grief. Second, we need also to understand how to handle the grief. Is it at all we need to handle grief? Yeah, this is where I will be, because as a person trained in the field of psychiatric settings, I was also just thinking about, why do we need to handle everything in our consideration, everything in our perspective. We'll see, how do we need to handle, do we at all need to handle, uh, can the grief be an individualistic perspective, which can be mitigated, which can be relieved after one particular phases of time, etc. Before we go into, I think I'll just share you um, a piece of paper to you, which might help you to understand a few things.
Sir, you're muted. Sir, please unmute.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can anybody respond?
Sir, sir, I think you are
Positively,
connected to your headphones, sir.
that am I audible? Yeah. Yeah. Just a second. Yeah. I have just put forward a piece of paper in front of you. Can somebody read it out? Can somebody read it out aloud? Am I audible? Can you see this presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Can somebody read it aloud? This is a narration.
Mrs. S came to the consulting room, set as the part of the disaster management. Her eyes were so reddish, saddened with heavy emotions, she was asked to sit for her ventilation. She began to narrate. During the dark, cloudy evening, when the rain was heavy for the few days, but the nearby areas of the house, the atmosphere was bit bright. So the people moved out. By the night, we heard the heavy sound. Ran out of the house. The part of the house was collapsed and was moving with the landslide occurred at the mountain. The night I learned that my son was dead was and will be the worst of my life. I am certain that nothing will ever compare to this pain. Nothing we do in this moment, aside from hurting ourselves or others, is wrong. I screamed the word no for hours until my voice was gone. I sat in silent shock while a police officers, village officer, offers and others and spoke softly about what I have no idea. Somehow I realized when I got myself to bed that this was the first night I would not awaken at 2 a.m. wondering where my son was. Exhausted and mentally sick, I fell asleep for 10 hours and did not even turn over. The morning brought shock and numbness. I was shuffling to the bathroom, getting a coffee, going back to bed. I have no recollection of my relative being there, but they must have been on the same trajectory. The disbelief lasts for a very long time. I cried in gaps. I wept softly. I yelled at the sky. I continued to say the word no. I slept 15 hours out of every 24 for a long time. The few days, weeks, and months after losing a child are otherworldly. I welcomed visitors and the lovely food they brought, but I had no other sense of emotion or connection. I felt like a person made of stone and alternatively cloud. I was not in control of anything around me. Family arrived from all over, friends were scattered through my days. What is death? I asked myself over and over. My boy, my only child, had vanished from the planet.
Okay, I just presented to you just the half of the uh, total of half of the total um, thing that I have witnessed directly from the disaster management camp at Wayanad 2 years back, wherein body of a child was seen by a mother, and her reactions with grief. Yeah. Can someone comment about what exactly does this mean? Does these words mean? What is really happening in her? Having read this note, what is the real scenario that you wanted to? I mean, this is a case scenario where I wish you people make a kind of summarization of the scenario, um, understanding what exactly happening in your own words, as whatever you understand. Would you be able to share with me so that we can go ahead before I enter into the real presentation? Because it's a workshop and it's not like yeah, I got one reply. It's numbness situation, then coming to the reality. Numbness. Numbness is a word used. Very good. Very good. It's numbness. So in grief, numbness is the situation. Okay. Yeah. Anything else? You can unmute your mic and then speak. Because it's a very fewer number of participants. Therefore, we can have better interaction with everybody.
Sir, Mrs. Yes was waiting to ventilate.
Yeah, she was waiting to ventilate. Okay, waiting to ventilate. Why do you think? Why do you think that she wants to ventilate?
She was filled with grief.
She was
Her
under
emotions
grief.
were overwhelmed.
She was under grief, and her emotions were over. And then we
Although
are the
people
people.
tried to,
Yeah.
sir, although people tried to console her, she couldn't come up with the terms, and that one, when others came and gave some good food, she couldn't take it, and she couldn't feel the sense of eating and other things. So that made to realize that she wasn't getting into consolation. Even others tried to give her.
Yeah, consolation was not reaching to this particular person even after they tried their level best to um, console her or ventilate her out, isn't it? Yeah, that's where she had to seek the second person. Yeah, good, good. And then,
She was very much depressed, sir.
she was depressed. Okay, depressed. Depressed is a term that is usually used in psychology as a bit more of a terminized, like a medicalized. Instead, it can be said as she was sad, she was weeping, right? Okay, next.
So she's in a shock, and reality is setting in just then.
Yeah, she was in a shock. Reality confrontation, right? Reality
Yes.
confrontation. She was trying to confront with the reality, so she was not
Yes.
able to confront with the realities. Yeah, yeah, good, very good. These are the observations. Yeah, then we will just three. Just go through what exactly the other components of what is grief, and then we will see what exactly is happening for that particular woman after that. I think the screen is visible. Sometimes we are over enthusiastic. Grief counseling, grief, grief counseling is necessary for most people dealing with the loss of loved one. There are some big potential benefits of those who are struggling more than usual. So grief counseling is that way, in a way that is helpful, which means we can. Some of the griefs are well addressed by themselves. Some of the griefs are addressed by the community. Some of the griefs are addressed by the society. Some of the griefs are addressed by the family. Some of the griefs are addressed by the relatives or someone who is very close to them. Or an individual has the innate capacity to address these particular issues pertaining to them effectively. But sometimes the grief may not be ending up. It's where grief counseling is warranted. Grief is not only the behavioral expression, but also some extent, its emotions is profoundly influenced by social structure and by the culture. We will see how culture is imposing, how culture is influencing the grief in later one or the some of the other slides. From Freud through Bowlby and Warden, the message has been that the grief has a goal, and the goal is for the mourner to detach from the painful emotions of loss so that she can once again become an autonomous individual, um, individual free to contract new relationship with other autonomous individuals. So an individual is already lost, therefore, a person try to detach from that particular painful emotions attached to that particular person and trying to develop new relationship with the other autonomous individual or individuals. This is how a group of peoples whose researches and theories altogether in nutshell says. Through sexual unions, birth and parenting, humans become attached to one another, and the grief is the pain of those attachment being sundered. In modernistic grief psychology, the pain has to be worked through so that the mourner can be once again reconstituted reconstituted as a free individual. Because during the phases of mourning, a person may be completely broken into pieces, and therefore we need to reconstitute as a person, as free will, as a person with individuality. Therefore, here the key mantras will be let go, move on. The goal will be nothing but it's a closure. Grief is to be resolved because grief cannot be a lifelong process. Again, when I come across to the theorization of many theorists are speaking about the grief and grief ventilations and other issues related to grief. One of the few of the earlier theories, such as Freudian theory, maybe Freud, who came up with the initial mentioning about grief, mourning, etc. According to Freud, mourning is a normal reaction. We should very carefully understand mourning is a normal reaction to the loss of a loved person or to the loss of some abstraction, for example, home or liberty. He identified that this is normal response to the loss and should not be considered to be an illness. And following a period of grieving, a person will overcome their own sorrows and become free and unburned. Unburned. So this is where Freud is speaking, and paper titled "Mourning and Melancholy." Despite occasional uh, protestations, grief has become modernized rather than a natural human experience or a social phenomena. This is where I would rather even to say that um, recently there are a lot of debates going on regarding why everything in the human emotions, why everything of the human life to be considered as something an abnormality. Is that the normality? Is it the abnormality? It's maybe even I would rather say that there are a lot of debates on the medicalization. So as a person, even as a person into that particular field, even rather I would rather say many things have been medicalized in our current scenario. This medicalization of human emotions, human issues, which has not been addressed in the past during the life courses of our ancestors, they were able to cope up and went through and move ahead. But current scenario is such that anything that happens to the human being, anything that comes ahead, become medicalized, terminized, terminologies, labelized. So in this way, the other areas of psychiatry, the key aim is to distinguish abnormal and normal grief, very different from more traditional norms of grief being socially appropriate and spiritually assisting to be deceased. So here, that's why it's very clearly said that grief is a normal thing. But when does it become abnormal? So grief is a traditionally a norm and socially appropriate, spiritually assisted. It's three things. One, it's a traditional norm because a person in a family, a person is dead. We cannot just stand there like a stone to witness the dead ceremony is happening. Naturally, we will definitely be at least a tear drop come out of our eyes. Therefore, it becomes traditional norm and it is socially accepted, appropriate. Crying is appropriate, weeping is appropriate, and staying with the person, holding the photos of a person, sitting in the house or at least for a few days. These are the things, especially if a man whose dead is being, um, sometimes it is celebrated. Death is celebrated some places, while death is a saddened thing some other cultures, right? So it's being added that spiritually assisted. How is it spiritually assisted? Because our ritualizations help proper goodbye to this particular person who is deceased. Hence, we find it's normal because we have sent a particular person away from the world to the other world as per our beliefs, as per the most belief, not our beliefs maybe, as per the common belief of the religion that a person is sent away from the world to the other world through the spiritual assistance. Professional expertise is manifested through the one-to-one consultation between therapist and the client, or through the book or magazines, articles of grief written by an expert. Yep, we will now just come across to. I think if you have a paper and pencil, I would rather suggest you. Uh, I think you hold upon a paper and pen with you. Beforehand, I will also come to the second part of the initial presentation, which I have just mentioned. Yeah, can somebody, if it is visible, can somebody read it out?
The funeral was not even arranged at home, as our home was vanished away by the fast flood. Only the grief that surrounded me made my son's death real. I had to console people, I had to respond to awful questions and difficult comments. It's God's plan, is one of the worst, along with everything happens for a reason. I had to keep my act together in public. I had a frightening new identity. I was the unthinkable, a mother who had lost a child.
Yeah.
We must not only deal with the brutal loss, we must redefine ourselves. Who am I if I am not his mother? Being a mother was my job. I often felt guilty in this job because I loved it so much. Others might have to work at jobs they hated or not have enough work and scramble to keep the home together. They might have other children, demanding partners, so many difficult life situations. But me, I had one child, time, resources, a solid family, art, friends, and motherhood. We allowed him a lot of freedom, maybe too much. And here begin the questions and the guilt. Where did we go wrong? What signs did we miss? Why didn't we do more? Why? This sense of guilt goes on for a long time, maybe forever, but it diminishes with time too. As parents, we do the very best we can at any given moment. Often we think that our best is not good enough. This thinking hurts us, and while I can say that it is something we must let go of, I can also say we almost never do. We learn to live with it. Which brings me to this: we will not get over our grief. We will not go through our grief. Our grief becomes part of who we are. Living with the pain slowly becomes the new normal. If we are lucky, we will find a counselor or a support system that will keep us safe and moving forward over a period of time, which is different for everyone. The pain softens and becomes a room in our heart. The door to this room must stay open. We must visit it and work with it regularly. If we shut the door, the pain may leak out in unexpected and unhealthy ways. I still experience grief outbursts which sneak up unexpectedly, but I am in a much better place than I once was. I am living my new life.
How do you feel after having heard this particular presentation? How do you people feel about this particular case scenario? Somebody quickly respond, because these are the narrations we will have to hear it when we start interacting with the people, when we start interacting with the students, when we start interacting with the people whoever is. Yeah, the mother filled with the guilt. Yeah, she was filled with the guilt, and after being filled with the guilt, and she was looking forward, looking around, looking surrounded, different situations in the houses, and she was also comparing herself, isn't it? Yeah. Next, anything else you wanted to add on? Every one of us underwent some or the other grief episode, I'm sure about it. Haven't you, having me, having any one of every one of us, right?
The usual words of consolence is not making any impact on her.
Usual
She,
words. What are the usual words, ma'am? In that case,
in that the first things which there will be a reason for all of this, and God is there, and all these I think those usual things which everyone like to say when somebody is in grief is not making an impact on her at all. She needs something more, and she wants everything to be settled within her, and she expects things like as the Sudha ma'am told, it is like the guilt is overtaking everything of her, and therefore she's not able to get consolation from anybody or anything. She needs to get it, she thinks she needs to get it by her own, and time has to settle things
heal.
down.
Time
That's what
has to
she
heal.
feels.
Yeah, yeah. This is a learning. This is the learning that we should carry forward when we attend this particular training. And then, why do we have this particular training? This is another big question. Why do we need a toll to have this particular training? I will come across to. I will tell you exactly why do we need to have this particular training. As a person, you will find definitely such kind of a cases comes in front of you. Such kind of students comes in front of you with a lot of grief, lot of issues, lot of problems. Mm, how are we going to console them? How are we going to talk to them? How are we going to speak to them? Nothing has happened. Beyond this, something would have been happening, but only this has happened. Correct. How do you pronounce this particular terminology in Tamil? And I know Tommy may be able to speak better in Malayalam. Yeah, Tony.
Yes, sir.
How do we speak it in Malayalam when somebody is dead with an accident or something like that?
മരിച്ചുപോയി.
No, no. You're consoling. You try to console them.
പോട്ടെ, സാരമില്ല.
No, no. ഇതിലും വലുത് വരാനിരുന്നതാണ്.
അതെ.
What is it?
ഇതിലും വലുതൊന്നും വരാനില്ല എന്ന് പറയുന്നവരുണ്ട്.
Okay. So you people catch this Malayalam word terminology, and similar way I think in Tamil also there will be something else, right? How do we try to console a person who comes with grief immediately? Holding them to our chest, or maybe holding them very closer to us. How do we console the immediate relative whose some close relative is dead? I just want to hear it Tamil terminology. That's it, nothing else. I mean the sentence formation. These are the local idioms.
கவலைப்படாத, எல்லாம் சரியாயிடும். அதாவது
Yeah,
டோன்ட்
that's the one.
வரி, எவ்ரிதிங் வில் கெட் ஆன் வெல். அதுதான் கவலைப்படாதீங்க, எல்லாம்
Yeah.
சரியா போயிடும். இல்ல,
Yeah.
கவலைப்படாதீங்க, எல்லாம் சரியா போயிடும். That means don't worry, everything will get on well.
Get on well. Will everything get on well?
No, it won't.
No.
But we
No.
say that. Our
Okay.
assurance மாதிரி just
It's assurance, and it's our vague word also, right? And we are 101% nothing is going to be normal, absolutely, because for us normality is something which is abnormality for the other one. Correct. So I think all of you have a piece of paper in front of you. Do you? Yeah. Anyhow, I'm not asking you to. Pick up a piece of paper, and I would rather like to go ahead. I just wanted to write a few sentences about how grief is for you. Okay. Maybe the terminology I used is right now, but every one of us went with particular sort of grief in the past. Maybe by the death of somebody, departure of the closest person, even the departure of closest animal, which I have been reading for the last many months or years together. Yeah, I would rather like, please try to fill these sentences. Right now, I feel what? Do I need to wait for writing, or will you be able to send a sentence out, voice out? This workshop would be a mixture of theorization and practical aspects. Therefore, I wish to cooperate with these kind of exercises. This is the only way through which we can learn pure things that is practically possible.
So may I?
Yeah, sure.
So right now, maybe I can. We can say I'm not able to accept the fact that this grief happened to me initially. Like that.
Okay. Second question. Second sentence.
I feel the saddest when I'm reminded of the time we were together.
Okay. Third.
Grief is unbearable, and as of for me, I will need a lot of support from my family, and I would be asking God to help me to, help throughout the days to come, for Him to take over the pain.
Okay. You're speaking about the third sentence completion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Can somebody try with the fourth sentence?
So I couldn't get the meaning of the fourth sentence, sir.
Since the laws, things have been different because I'll just tell you the example for this. Grief can be two ways. Loss can have two things. Any losses can have two things to remind us. One, it may remind us certain things of positive, certain things of negative. Just for example, I had a student whose brother was brutally killed in an accident happened in a highway. She was bereaving, and it took almost 6 months for her to come into a understanding that this particular person is dead. Reason why she encountered such long phases of her time for understanding and confronting with her own mindset that he is no more, because she hated this person than anybody else in the world. When this particular person was dead, she had to catch hold. I mean, she had the possession of her his mobile in his hand, wherein he had interacted with some of his close affiliated friends such a way that one day I just wanted to see my sister as a person who is most successful. Though I know she has enmity with me, I wanted to speak to her. I want to be normalizing things. I just wanted to feel myself better with her. I just wanted to say an apology to her. I just wanted to take her out of my home. I wanted to go for picnic. I want to own my own house and get her married to the best person ever in my life. So you get my point clear? So it's a negative thing, of course. Negative in the sense its bereavement's intensity is increased because of this particular facts. But ever since I have found that particular girl moving on to better and bold enough in future days, where she is taking hold of the entire functioning of the houses, holding of taking care of the entire um, responsibilities of the house, managing and looking after the father and mother, and making decisions for herself as well as for the family. So beautifully in a way, in such a way that she was able to master over many things, and she was once upon a time highly dependent upon many people, but after this incident, she grew bold. So this is why I said grief has two things to teach. One, it may be may a person might end up in a different scenario. The person might even get more strengthened. So does that first sentence make sense? Hello, somebody there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. My family usually feels. Why have I put this particular sentence completion test is something which is, some of the persons whom we meet, whom we are going to address, maybe are speechless. They may be able to not even express their feelings in front of you. Catharsis takes long time. Their ventilation takes long time. Maybe they will not even be able to speak to you facing you, may not be able to come to you closer, may not be able to sit in front of you without the teary eyes. So the best solution would be like you can ask them to write whatever they wanted, or you can ask them to write complete the sentences. So basing on these particular sentences, once the person complete these particular sentences, we will at least understand what's really happening in that particular person's life. Okay, then we will come across to what are the different terminologies where the grief is being, where grief and grief-related terminologies are being addressed as. Grief is a person's emotional response to the loss. Mourning is an outburst expression of grief, including cultural and religious customs surrounded by death, surrounding the death. It is also a process of adapting life after the loss. Bereavement is a period of grief after the loss. Anticipatory grief, you must have heard about this particular terminology, anticipatory grief. Responses to an expected loss. What is meant by expected loss? Are there anything kind of expected loss?
So maybe if a cancer patient, we know that.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
You are right. Because if you work in a emergency department in a medical college or a hospital, especially if you're working in a ventilators, ICUs and ICU beds and all, if you, these are the places where we really see the anticipatory grief happens, and this is where there are clever social workers working. They tap it out the grief anticipately, yeah, in anticipation, speak to the clients, speak to the persons who might be breaking down if suddenly a bad news is broken into. Breaking a bad news is a very difficult task, right? So anticipatory grief is something which is an expected loss of a cancer patient. We know it's terminally ill. Maybe a kidney patient who is suffering severe damages of kidney, and maybe that he or she might be in the ICU. We know that tomorrow, if the life support is removed, then definitely the death is only possible. It's a declaration of death is awaited. So such kind of things is called as anticipatory grief. Local idioms used in different languages. Um, I think we should also remember uh, to understand the localization of other terminologies, grief. What are the different local idioms that are being used in Tamil Nadu or in Kerala? Are there anybody else from any other language in this group? except Tamil and Malayalam. Can somebody respond me telling that what are the major locally used words to indicate grief in local language?
Sir, in Hindi we say shok manana.
Shock manana. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? In Malayalam?
സങ്കടം,
Sangadam. Pinna?
Sir,
വിഷമം,
Yeah.
sir, in Urdu they say dukh
Dukh. Okay.
for the grief.
It's not alone that. I think we are, as a Polish community, maybe that we don't even see that is happening, because there are a lot of local idioms which are being used in the different languages to understand it. Sometimes even it can be the expression. Sometimes idioms are not even used in some local languages to express the grief. They don't have even the local idioms even to say that. It may be an expression of face. It can be an expression of acts. Sometimes we see, yeah, the mourning cannot be. It's like it may not be crying. It may be an act. It may be depending upon the human culture. It varies between the cultures to community to community. Okay. Now let's see what are the types of griefs. One is a normal grief. Next one, anticipatory grief. You have seen it already. And complicated grief. Complicated grief is such as chronic grief, delayed grief, and distorted grief. All falls under the blanket of complicated grief. And delayed grief is consciously or subconsciously avoids the reality and the pain of the loss, suppresses these reactions. This is usually, I think this particular lady in our case scenario, which we have narrated, which I have presented before you, also do the same thing. She delays the grief. She sleeps. She sleeps for more than 10 hours, which is normal than the normal, which if as a woman, as a mother, she must have not even slept such a long hours of time, even when her child was alive. And cumulative grief is one of the one experience second loss of still grieving the first loss, which is otherwise called as the loss happens immediately after the first loss. You must have heard series of death happens in a family, one after other one is dead, and this is otherwise called as bereavement overload or grief overload. Other one is called prolonged grief. Griefer is incapacitated by the grief, and daily function is impaired and long-term basis. Griever spends much of time contemplating on the death, longing for reunion, and unable to adjust the life without the individual. So, where is actually out of these types which I have mentioned in this first slide, where exactly do we need to have intervention? Can somebody say? In a delayed grief or prolonged, even sometimes cumulative. We'll come across to exaggerated grief. Exaggerated grief is something which is called as grief reactions, include nightmares, self-destruction behavior, drug abuse. Most of the movies portray such a way that a person is dead, the loved one is dead. So what usually happens to the lover? They undergo with drug abuse, trying to suicide, abnormal, move around the places, walking during the night, and even they might end up with psychiatric disorders in emergency. Other one is called masked grief. Masked grief means grieving cannot be understood by anybody else. Okay, next is disenfranchised grief. One's grief is enfranchised when the culture, society, and support group make them feel that their loss or grief is invalidated and insignificant. Sometimes societies are such a way that they pretend to be very bold. Some of the communities, some of the societies, they don't allow this. If you just take the cultural variations, for example, the cultural variations itself, if we take it into consideration, maybe it makes a variations. Just for example, how do dead bodies taken in Tamil Nadu and how do dead bodies taken in different other parts of the country, or how are they celebrate the death? Do you have any idea? I lived in many
Even in
places.
Tamil Nadu, each community has a different way of their dealing with ceremony, the funeral ceremony. So usually they take it. Hindus take it in the pada. That is how to say that.
I understand.
Ola vachi they will weave the coconut leaf, mostly the coconut leaf they'll weave and carry. And Christians mostly they have it in the coffin, and Muslims they roll it in the mat. So this is a gentle way.
Do they celebrate it?
Yes, sir. They celebrate it. They celebrate to the core. Hindus, they have crackers, lots of flowers, and people used to dance before the funeral. And the celebration will be to the core in the Hindu ceremony, basically. And others, I don't think, while the procession is on, Christians will not be having a celebration of that sort, but the church, what to say, ceremony, actually it's a solemn one.
Okay. So I think this is exactly opposite in the scenarios of Kerala, wherein I have seen the variations happens in communities to communities, where open grieving happens to be. Open grieving in the sense there are people who are expertised in the field of grieving, comes together and mourn for a longer phases of time, and then they join together to mourn and make others to mourn, help others to mourn. And even in the communities of other one also, mourning is mostly acknowledged as one of the most important and it's validated, while the other part of the country may be having different sense. Even Andhra Pradesh, I have seen people do celebrate. Of course, they mourn and also say goodbye to the person who's deceased in a most beautiful celebrating manner. Common exposed, the concept of disenfranchisement, which occurs in individuals have difficulty in acknowledging their own grief and being legitimate. One proposed associated emotions of this situation is the guilt, which is especially present in the situation unexpected or sudden loss. In the pandemic context, bereaved people have a scare opportunity. So the problem with the current scenario, in the current scenario context, in the context of a pandemic, the problem with this, a person is dead in our family, dead in the community, dead in a greater family system. They are not able to prepare themselves for the loss, because death is mostly anticipated, except the sudden death. If an anticipated death happens, it's more or less easy to handle. But here the problem is that due to the pandemic situation, death happens in an unanticipated situation, and nobody can come mourning with them. Nobody can reach out to them. So in this way, this is where actually most importantly problem is that problem we are facing into. So culture is also playing a very, very important role in um, um, differences in grieving and shared ways regarding how to respond. Um, yeah, I have told you already. There's another which is called as the currently which is coming up. It's called as private grief. We should know this terminologies. What is this by private grief? Private grief is something a terminology that's coming from the Western concept of grieving, where my death is a death of one of the neighbors, one of my closest affiliated person is none of your business. It's just a business of mine. That means it's a private thing. It's a private thing, and therefore the entire community or entire family system need not to be grieving about it. So it's otherwise called as in English norm. The private grieving is criticized in some other way. It's like a denial of death, while they try to stand um, like other communities of the world stand apart from. Okay, private grief is linked with the key tenets of cultural modernization, namely individual liberty. Another one is called as feminist historian Taylor argues that requirements of mourning were one way in which Victorian women had been kept in their places for a patriarchal society. If the modern woman is to grieve not as dictated by the society but as personally feels, then she needs to be under external surveillance. Hence, grief need to be private. Yeah, we should also to know what are the major reactions happens to the grief. Grief is not something which is readily that we can address in front of a person who comes in front of us. Yeah, due to grieving, what are the real issues that can happen? Grief is not a small thing. Okay, that's the first thing to understand it. This is why I was curious to know your background, where you people are hailing from, because as a people, grieving is something which is very smaller activity, and grief counseling and addressing grief is it a very lighter thing? No, it's not a lighter thing. It's a very difficult task. So grief has its own common. Can anybody say without just even pointing out um, uh, yeah the slide? Can anybody say what are the major reactions to the grief? Anybody? I think you have seen already what
Withdrawal,
is. Pardon?
self-withdrawal,
Self-withdrawal. Very good.
crying, hurting
Crying,
themselves,
hurting themselves,
Sir,
physical action.
Anger.
Okay. Anger outburst,
tending to blame others for the
tending to blame others. Exactly. Very good. Very good.
eating disorders,
Eating disorders. Yeah.
sleeping disorders.
Sleeping disorders. Yeah. Okay. Then roughly we will see what is happening. What can happen? One common grief reactions are mostly uh, yeah yeah, it's called as a grief reaction, vary from person to person. It's a complex, can lead to somatic and psychological symptom. Somatic means it can affect some bodily reactions. Next, feelings. It may be like a range of feelings including shock, numbness, sadness, denial, anger, guilt, helplessness, depression, and yearning. A person may cry for no reasons. If you just sit close to the person, even without uttering a single word, he or she might start crying or weeping. Their thoughts can be disbelief. They find it so much difficult to believe, confusion, difficulty in concentrating, preoccupations, and hallucination. Hallucination, you know the terminology, can be either voice or it can be visual. Next, even I have seen a kind of tactile hallucination, a dead person coming and touching the body of living person. Okay, next, physical causations. It may be including stomach upset, nausea, throat pain, chest pain, heaviness in throat or chest, dizziness, headache, numbness, muscle weakness, tension, fatigue. Then behaviors, it may be leading to like aggressions and irritability. Somatic symptoms may be including tightening and choking, shortness of breath, abnormal distress, decreased muscle power, and lethargy. And psychologically, anger, guilt, hostileness, restlessness, inability to concentrate, capacity to initiate and maintain organized pattern of activities. Then it can also lead to um, cardiomyopathy. Cardiomyopathy, it's a mimic actually. Mimic in the sense, person feel always shortness of breath as well as chest pain, almost similar to those of cardiac arrest. But as a person taken to an EG, to a consultation, when an EG is done, uh, there is no possibility of such EG abnormalities, and um, maybe that he or she can be she can come out of the place without any sort of an issue. Yeah, does all this make sense to you? So, do we really need to address the grief? Having been said, do we really need to address the grief? That's what I have been trying to speak. Suicidal thoughts, obviously, I have told as a part of depression. So that, as mentioned, is clearly as a part of depression, suicidal thoughts and suicidal ideation, even suicidal attempts. Does it make sense?
So grief definitely has to be addressed because basically for a problem we need to have a solution. If it is unaddressed, then it will create havoc in a person's life. So grief has to be addressed.
So, do you think that having been presented, I have told you, of course, grief has to be addressed. Grief has to be addressed, and grief need to be validated. I would
Yes.
rather say it's to be validated rather than not always to be. We cannot always address the grief as the even if I try sitting in front of a person, I cannot repair the loss of a person at any cost. Okay, I just give you an example where I was working last maybe 1 or 2 months back. Just 1 month back, I had a client. I received a call from the emergency department of First Line COVID Center. They asked me to come immediately. Not immediately, I mean to come to meet a patient. As I reached, surprisingly, during in COVID centers, usually we don't allow the bystanders or caregivers or relatives or anybody. So no sooner I reached, a relative of a patient rushed to me and spoke to me, asking me my name and other things, and he said, "I am Dr. Pinyan." And then he began to tell me that I wanted to see this particular patient who was admitted at the hospital. Um, Having issues. And I asked him, what is the problem? And he said, you need to reveal a thing that her husband is no more. Okay. You need to reveal the client that her husband is no more. Um, Recently, her husband was under severe physical issues, um, was not in a very good physical conditions before she was infected with the COVID. As she was infected with the COVID, her oxygen level was deteriorating day by day. Um, it reached even to the level of around 60, 50 and all. While they were, she was under continuous medical monitoring. And at the end, no, even immediately after she was lifted from the home to the COVID center, maybe in 4 to 5 hours of duration, her husband passed away. Due to her critical conditions, this news was neither communicated nor they were able to take this lady to the home for burial functions. So she remained in the ICU for about 2 weeks. At certain times, a bit disoriented due to, as geriatric population in COVID centers, they develop dementia. Uh, Dementia is independent entity for a shorter phases of time, and dementia might continue to be one of the major concerns even after that. She had no such kind of memories and other things what exactly was happening. When I asked her how many days she has been spending the time in the hospital, she said just 1 week. Actually, her records were showing just for the last 2 weeks. And I had to, no other option, to reveal her husband is no more. For which I have not used any terminologies. I asked what were the conditions. I just wanted to know how intensity she had, how much the depth of the relationship, how much she loved this particular person, how much she wanted to, how much I wanted to know that she would miss this particular person if I just reveal this particular person is dead. And I knew it by her words. She started speaking. She was very much attached, and she was very close to. But also, she was speaking one or the other point in the time. I have. He has been suffering from severe health issues. He has been a sufferer for long years. I don't want him to suffer anymore. If I am not there, he will be finding it so difficult. Then I asked her, do you think is it better that he is dead? It's better that he is dead without much of struggle. She said, I really pray, but I don't want God to take him away. But I really pray that he shouldn't be suffering too much. I don't want him to be admitted in the hospital. I don't want him to be seen himself in the hospital. And that was the time I realized that this is the time I have to reveal the bad news to this particular lady. So once the bad news was revealed, I had to sit along with this lady for asking her to ventilate it out, crying, and she at the end said thanks to me, saying that you helped me to cry. And this is how actually some grief. I don't know what exactly the story after once she left this particular center to the home. However, breaking the bad news, allowing to grieve, allowing to ventilate. This is the most important aspects in our day-to-day life. Even once the students come back to the college, once your students are having issues, we may not be able to help in a larger sense. Sometimes we may not be able to give them a lot of consolation, lot of therapeutic support, lot of counseling or anything of that sort. At least they expect us to be with them. They expect us to be with them. If the culture allow, at least to hold their hands. This is what I have done only to this particular woman who was grieving. I just holded her hands and she was holding my hand. So this was only possibility for me then. No greater counseling was possible. No greater therapies was possible. So grieving, allowing her to ventilate. Yeah, this is initial basis of. This is the first thing we should understand it with regarding grief and grief issues, which are faced from the time pandemic has created issues in every person's life today. Before we wind up, if any queries, tomorrow we will deal with how therapies and counseling sessions can be effectively worked out in addressing the issues. Today I just meant a few things to understand whether at all grief to be addressed. Any queries and any questions? Tony, is it time for me, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
The floor is now open to questions and feedbacks. I request the participants to ask or say something.
Thank you, sir, for giving us a very wide understanding of what is grief and the theoretical part of it. And we are looking forward to see the therapeutical part of grievance. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I will be addressing the therapeutic areas tomorrow. And of course, I know therapeutic. Before I come to therapeutic things, I should have put some sort of a disturbance in your mind, such a way that whether at all are we really looking for addressing grief? Can I have that strength of addressing grief? Because grief is not an easiest thing. I'll just also show you one of the slides before I go for theorizing many things about it. This is where I think empathy fatigue. We all know that empathy fatigue is the most important problem currently the people are faced with. Okay, we are empathetic and we have empathy. Problem is that this empathy is one or the other ways dead, as we see too much of grief around us, too much of saddened faces, too much of issues, too much of stressful situations. Okay, so are we capable of addressing it? This is where the question you should raise tonight, over the next 24 hours. Am I really capable? Can I really do this task? Can I really address the issues? I personally speak to you. I personally tell you, while working with the while working in the disaster management, the most important task of a person is nothing but maintenance of one's own mental health. Okay, this is the reason I said over the time we hear sad stories, we lose our own empathy, our own mental health. Are we prepared for that? Yeah, any questions? Or any comments? Nothing to shy, nothing to. If nothing.
Thank you very much, sir, for taking time off your busy schedule to talk to us about grief and the different types of grief, and also how to help a person to vent their grief towards for the better good. As a general announcement, we will have our second session for the level 2 tomorrow morning, the same time, 10:30 to 12 o'clock. So thank you. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, sir.